Once again, welcome back to the Rolling Grounds, not just sports and entertainment show. It's homecoming all over the land, but in no place is it more special than here at Bishop McNamara High School, my alma mater in Forestville, Maryland, Prince George's County. Hey folks, you may have seen some of the people that we had on a little bit earlier, Arthur Clark, the president, Arthur Horn, and a few other very special guests. However, you may notice now that the table got a little bit wider because we brought some extra muscle in. I want to start at my far right, that gentleman, and we'll get into his history in a little bit, but we call him Billy Krug. Billy went to Bishop McNamara High School, played at the University of Georgia. Put your hands together for Mr. Billy Krug. All right. The man next to him, we affectionately call Uncle Chucky. He is Coach Roland. Coach Roland had the dubious distinction, I think, of coaching all three of us at one point in time. His family has been involved with the Bishop McNamara family for many days. Do me a favor, put your hands together for Coach Roland. And my big brother sitting next to me is actually, he has a field named after him right outside Bishop McNamara High School, where we're about to play the Carolines, which just happens to be the alma mater of Mr. Roland, but we'll get into that a little bit later. This gentleman hails from Southeast Washington, D.C. area, has returned after a 12-year career in the National Football League with the St. Louis Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Detroit Lions. Anybody else that I'm missing? Miami Dolphins. Let's give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Tyoka Jackson. You might notice the inflection in my voice because when you sit at the table with these kind of heavies, there's no way to do it other than to bring it. So I'm going to start right now with Mr. Billy Krug. Billy, homecoming, Bishop McNamara High School, my man. Tell me what it feels like.
Oh, I tell you, it's amazing to come back to McNamara and see all the changes, see some of my former teammates and coaches, Coach Roland, Coach Ed McNamara is outside as well. It's really an honor, truly an honor to see it and see this place sanitized compared to what we were. This is much cleaner and nicer than what we had.
We're not going to bring that up right now. Well, Billy, I'll tell you what, man, when I came to school here, they talked about you and many of your cohorts from the 1973 championship football team over and over again. Quite frankly, I felt like I stood on you guys' shoulders, man. So I wanted to know, real quick, man, tell me about your time here at Bishop McNamara, being part of that championship team. What was it then, and what does it mean to you now?
Oh, I tell you, I was really blessed because prior to my class, which is the senior class that year we won that championship, McNamara pretty much was everybody's homecoming queen.
We were the doormat.
We were the doormat. They wanted McNamara for their homecoming games, and that senior class and then the immediately classes following it changed that attitude in Prince George's County. You didn't want to mess with McNamara. And we steadily got stronger and stronger. And in our senior year, Coach Nicey, who was our athletic director, he knew what he had coming down the pipeline, got us in the Catholic League. That's what it was called back then. And they knew something was up. They knew something was up because were doing a lot of inquiries about us, and DeMatha really was curious. We actually played him in the preseason, which I thought was wrong, but you know, we played him in the preseason, so they got a feeling for what we actually had. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know our guys were totally confident going into that season. I mean, we were confident, but I don't know if we knew how good we were until we
What'd you find out?
Well, I think that the team that we grew up the most on and who had the most intimidating factor potential was North Catholic of Pittsburgh. They were number 4 in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, as you know, is a hotbed of football. And to go up against the number 14 in that city, and when they came down here, man, we looked like young kids compared to them. They looked like they were guys that were 25 and 26 with their full beards. I mean, I know guys were talking about it. They were a little bit intimidated. Like, whoa. And they opened kickoff right down and scored. The last time they did score, but I mean, they, you know, but at that point, you know, we calmed down and we went about our business of pounding people. And all of a sudden, guys realized, hey, they ain't as tough as they look. We can take them. And we pounded them and ended up beating them by 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
And after that, the confidence grew on that team. And grew enough that when someone went down, there was somebody who would step up, step in the spot, and keep the momentum going. I got hurt in the Carroll game, and I was never the same from that point on the rest of the season, but we had Terry O'Connor and Tony Smith step into my defensive shoes, who stepped up to the plate and actually performed outstanding, you know, because we had some serious tough games after that to go, because all the Catholic League schools were staggered after, at the end of our season. So we had our toughest schedule at the end. And so I said I got hurt in Carroll. It was actually St. John's. Carroll came at the end. And we did so well, we didn't have Gonzaga scheduled. But it was a situation that if they thought Gonzaga had a chance of beating us and we had beaten everybody else, we would play them. But because we so dominated, they said, no, you don't have to play Gonzaga.
You know, interestingly enough, you played the championship game. Back then they had what they called a city title.
Right.
And you played Anacostia Indians, which is the alma mater of my co-host, Willard Skipper. I was at that game in RFK. I was a Southeast boy like Tyler Jackson, and I was rooting for the Indians. My first cousin and beloved big brother David Nickens, number 85, was playing safety. Hercules Patterson and the rest of my heroes. And it was kind of funny because I remember those gold helmets coming in, and I said, there's no way in the world. But you know what? That's a story for another time. Tayoka Jackson, welcome back, man.
What's up?
What does it feel like to be back at Bishop McNamara High School for homecoming? Not that you've been away but that much, but tell me about today.
Well, homecoming special because you see all the faces you hadn't seen in years. And some of our faces get a little bigger, they get a little wider, but it's still, the love is still there. So it's great to come back, always is. This particular day is special to me because it's the Carolines, and I have a deep, deep hatred for the Carolines. Oh, really? Yeah. Someone's going to give me some tissue. The worst loss in my career, and I played a lot of games. You know, I played, you know, in my lifetime, I probably played over 200. Well, I played 100 and change in the NFL, and you know, at college and high school, who knows how many. But the worst loss of my career still took place right here against the Carolines.
Tell me about that day, Tyler.
You know, I can still remember. It was so funny because again, there's a lot of parallels between the days. Carroll, it wasn't homecoming, but it was Carroll at home. Got a big storm coming, right? A big storm had hit us on a Saturday, and we had to reschedule the game to a Monday. So this was a Monday game in high school, you know, unprecedented, we understand. So it was a big lead up. This was the championship game. When I was playing, there was no city championship for us. Right. We had, you know, the National Athletic League.
Yeah, taking it during the regular season.
That's it. If you had the best record, you win the championship. And so it came down to us and Carroll. And they had a boatload of stars, and we had our own too. Between the two of us, we probably had about 20 scholarship athletes on that field. And you know, this was the biggest game of my life, and it was so important for us to win it. And I felt so confident about my teammates, and probably played the best game of my career, of my life. I had 5 sacks in that game, and playing against Marvin Graves, who ended up being a great quarterback, one of their best quarterbacks ever at Syracuse, your alma mater. It just, all I remember is laying on the ground, clock going to 0, and we lose the game, I think by 3. and really taught me a lot about how individual performances really don't mean a whole heck of a lot.
Not in football. Not in football.
No,
right?
no. I mean, because that's why I love this game. It's such an ultimate team sport. Everybody understands that here. It's not like basketball. It's not like baseball, where a lot of individual efforts can really lift and take a team. One guy in basketball can put them on his back, but in football, you need the whole special teams, defense, offense, and that's what makes football so much like life. You can't really get anything done without the people around.
Now, having said that, special teams, offense, defense, did you play all of them?
I did.
Tell me a little bit about it.
I was on the kickoff coverage team. I ran down.
You ran down on kickoff?
Absolutely, man. It's crazy.
You like the early Dexter Manley?
Right.
I don't want to hear from you yet.
It was like I love the game, to be quite honest with you. And whenever I put that uniform on, whatever I was asked to do, I'm going to do it. Now, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I had to play a little offensive tackle. Didn't like that too much. My coach can tell me about it. I didn't like it too much, and another lesson learned for me. Again, when I first started playing it, I kind of pouted and walked my way through it.
You did.
Absolutely. But then I learned a lesson with some good coaching. I learned a lesson that it's not about me. It's about what our team needs. We had an injury, and I was in there out of necessity. I had to, stop crying about it and go handle my business and do it for the team. And so that taught me a lesson I used for the rest of my career. It really helped me out. It's life lessons that I learned on that field that really carried me on.
So we're going to get into it a little bit later because from there, Penn State, NFL. However, the gentleman sitting in the middle, there's one common thread between us all. It's funny listening to these stories because it's almost like history kept repeating itself over and over again. Coach Roland, tell me why these stories are so similar from decade to decade to decade in this game of football in that Bishop McNamara High School.
Well, I think that one of the things that has never changed, I don't think has changed, is the attitude of the coaches towards the kids. I'll bring up some. I happened to be on Carroll's first championship.
Yes.
Back in 1960, and that was an experience. We were the same type of team. We didn't have any individual stars, so to speak. All the ones that were quote the stars had pretty much got nicked or banged up, and like Billy said, it depended on the people coming in behind them, and the team kind of melded together very well, and really built a family of trust. And when I came to McNamara, I was coaching the JV, JV line coach the first 2 years that I was here, and it used to drive me nuts, because we would play Carroll, and I'm thinking, man, I knew Moss, I knew what he was going to do before he did it, But then when I got up, just couldn't stop. Yeah, right, exactly. Couldn't stop. When I got up on the varsity, to me it was kind of like nobody's any better than the next one. That's the way I felt about it. I don't know if you remember, but your senior year coming back, even though you'd been a starter your junior year, you didn't have a job. I mean, you had to compete for that job just like anybody else. And I think doing that kind of told the younger guys that said, hey, it's about performance. It's not about I put my time in, so to speak, and I'm going to play. So performance meant something. Practices were better. And
everything was meaningful.
Yes, yeah. And not that we did a lot of banging, but we would have those first 2 days of the week that we went to pads. There was some heavy hitting going on, and then it would kind of tail off after that. But I think that has a lot to do with and I don't think it changes from generation to generation. I mean, your generation, you're no different than when Billy was playing. We're tied.
So that's why the stories are about something.
Exactly. That's the way I feel about it.
What's the changes still remain the same?
The character, the faces and the names change, but the characters remain the same. And as a coach, I always try to look back and say, okay, I've been doing this now I coached here for 27 years, but the 27th year was just like the first year. I mean, to me, it was like you can't say, oh, we've got a great defensive end here, we can't worry about it.
Just don't know.
Because he could sprain an ankle the first lap he could take around the field, and you're done. So I think part of that is a big deal with, building that camaraderie with, the whole team.
We're going to extend this time period, and I'm going to ask you in your own unique voice. I'm going to throw some words at you, and I want you to tell me what comes to your mind.
Oh, you might be sorry.
That's okay.
You got a beat button on it?
I was going to say, is this on the layer?
On the Roland Grimes show, we got it on the list. Here we go. Billy Krug.
Billy Krug, intense. Do you want just one word?
No, I want you to embellish it a little bit.
Billy was probably was one of the first athletes that we had in McNamara, at least that I thought was, you didn't know where to put him. No matter where you put him, he was good at it.
He did well.
He did very well. He was a running back, and you knew he was a good running back because, one, he always wanted the ball. And when he got it, he usually produced. And I'll never forget the St. Elizabeth's up in Delaware his sophomore year. We're playing against a team that their quarterback, who was their best player, was playing defensive tackle. I don't understand why. And Frank would, he would run a play, run this, but he wouldn't give it to Billy more than one time, one play, and that was it. At halftime,
We alternated back and forth, Parker and me.
So
I got more tired running in and out of the game.
So at halftime, Billy said, give me the ball, 2 plays, 3 plays, and I'll score. So we opened up the second half. First play goes off tackle. I think it was called blast, right?
Last right.
Last right. And, the guy makes a tackle. Next time we ran last right, he made his move. That guy didn't make the tackle. Somebody else, linebacker, did. Third play, about 60 yards for a touchdown. And I thought to myself, that's the kind of attitude you need to have. I mean, Billy's idea when he carried the ball was he was going to score or do everything in his power. At least that race.
Right. He was taking it out. But he also excelled at linebacker.
Oh, well, yeah. The game I remember as linebacker was the DeMatha game. Billy single-handedly made about 7,000 tackles. I mean, to one sideline to the other, he was all over the place. And I'm not even too sure that because Terry was in.
I didn't play the first half.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I had a 101 fever.
Yeah.
So I had to play offense or defense. And I was only allowed to play one side, but they were killing us on offense in the first half. And my fever broke at halftime. And they had to ask my father permission. Could I go both ways?
It broke, right. He broke it. Right. Yeah, right. Let me have some ice cubes. Yeah, it's down.
Right. The next curse word I'm going to give you. The next curse word I'm going to give you is Tyree Jackson.
Tioka, class act. Tioka was always one of the guys that, it never seemed to be about him. That was, I know when we moved into the offensive line, he was, let's face it, he was probably one of the best defensive ends in the damn city.
Almost in the nation.
Well, as it turned out, yeah. But at that time, we couldn't see ahead, We just had to look at what we had, right? So we moved him to offensive tackle I think it was because of injury. And he didn't want to play there, And it was a matter of saying, hey, look, it's not about you. It's about the team. And and like you said earlier, I think you learn some things, about when you get that much, let's say, a hype when you're young, it's kind of hard not to let it go to your head. And going back to who was an offensive lineman back then? Right. I mean, the whole time,
all your rejects, right?
Well, that was what most people don't know is that was Knightsy's attitude. If you remember, I mean, you might not, but when first day of practice, you got to try out for whatever you wanted, right? If you wanted to be a quarterback, go down with the quarterbacks. A couple passes down.
We're any good at a skill position.
And they would all end up. And Frank told me, you get what's left over. And I'm thinking, really? I mean...
So it didn't start with the...
Oh, no.
I was raised to hate offensive linemen. I couldn't stand them, and now I had to be one.
Yeah.
But I would say, and I appreciate those words you said, but I had to learn that it wasn't all about me, and that whole situation helped me learn that. And I got yelled at a lot by a lot of my coaches. Coach always put his arm around me and talked to me. He said, listen, it's not that bad. We need you. This is not that bad, man. It might help you get a coaches, and I remember him telling me that he knew how to talk to me. So, you know, Coach would always put his arm around me and get my attention that way. Some of my other coaches may use some colorful language to get my attention that way.
I never use colorful language. You need to tell that
not with me.
All right, folks, we're going to take a station break from the Roland Grimes. We're just not telling the truth. Sports and entertainment show with Billy Krug, Coach Roland, Tucker Jackson. When we get back, we're going to ask Coach Roland the last part of this three-part question, which I'm really not excited about hearing. Anyway, we come back with the Roland Grimes, not just sports and entertainment show. Sit tight. Hey folks, welcome back to the Roland Grimes, not just sports entertainment show. I'm your host, Roland Bubba Grimes. Homecoming here at Bishop McNamara High School. Let's get right into it. Before I ask Coach this last question, I wanted to kind of say something, and then I'm going to pose it as a question. First off is, Billy, as I mentioned earlier, I was told a lot about you and your teammates, and I felt like that was a standard that I had to raise myself up to in order for one, the coaches to get off my back, but also number two, to kind of continue the legacy that you guys had already set. Tayoka, I knew you were coming, I didn't know who you were, but I knew you were coming after me. And part of my responsibility was to kind of do the same thing, set some legacy for you guys coming behind me. Very quickly, Billy, tell me about, I know that when you came here, you said that McNamara was really a doormat at the time you came here. What did that position that McNamara had as a football program, what did that do to your attitude towards this game and toward playing for this school?
You know, personally, I looked at it as a challenge. I mean, you know, a lot of guys, when you go off to school, you see all, you can associate, we can all, Tayoka and I can, and yourself, when you go off to choose a college. You can go to some of these top-notch schools that have, like Alabama. Right now, Alabama's the hottest school on the market. And it's easy to go there. It's real easy to continue that going. I looked at it as, I didn't want to go to a school like in Alabama. I wanted to go somewhere where I made a difference, where I could raise that program up. And that's what basically McNamara was. McNamara did not have a program that was respected by anybody. And I looked at it as, I could be a part of something that was the first. That's what I really love about our time at McNamara. We are the first of everything. We had the first championship team of any sport in McNamara. It happened to be the #1 team in the metro area. We were #1 in Washington.
You were #1 in the entire area.
And we were, you know, and so there were a ton of firsts. And I take extreme pride, as do my teammates, that we were the first. And like you said, everybody else comes after us, try to obtain what we did. And we want you to. And we want to set that bar high. And I think we did, and that's where I take pride in it, and looking at it. The Carroll game, you know, back his alma mater with Coach Moss. I mean, my brothers went to St. John's, so I know the history of the Catholic League. I was very well ingrained. My father's a Johnny, you know. So in one respect, I wanted to go to St. John's. Just we couldn't financially afford it at the time. But McNamara was affordable, reachable, and drive. So, and all those other things I said about, well, you know, I could set this bar for them. And my father and brothers are just as proud of that I went to McNamara as if I had gone to St. John's. And so it was wonderful to whip up on the Lions my day. And against Moss Collins, who I always admired as a coach.
All of us did.
I relish that too.
All of us did. Tayoka, you were branded in the McNamara brand, so to speak.
Still there, baby.
You sure do. We won a couple championships prior to you coming in. They were the first, I think we were the second. You came in. Tell me what you were told coming in the door. What did you, not necessarily hear about the history, but what part of that history was a part of your time here at this bank?
Well, we knew we could do it because it had been done in the past. So it's amazing how having people before you accomplish something makes it a little bit easier for you. I know there's a story about the guy, Roger Nance, who broke the 4-minute mile. No one could do it before him. And the year after he breaks it, everyone thought it was possible. The year after he breaks it, like 20 other people did it. Because your mindset, you unlocked yourself to make it possible. So we knew it was possible to win championships. So for us, it was we had to go take down the big dogs. The big dogs were, at that point, the Math and Farrell. And so we were trying to further the respect that you guys had started. We didn't want to be the class, we didn't want to be the group. They kind of let us down. Now, as it happened, we lost the championship game. The very next year, we won it. After I got on the Penn Stadium, the next year, McNamara won the championship. So we felt like we were part of that because we were part of our new coaching staff with Tom Clark coming in and keeping that thing going. So for us, it was okay. We've established it. We can get it done here at McNamara, right in Forestville, Maryland, with championships. Let's keep it going, and let's make everyone who came before us proud. And I think we kind of did it. A lot of great players came through. All went on to have great academic careers and NFL careers. And so I think we're part of the legacy that we can.
Well, I'll be honest, I enjoyed both of your careers. Coach, we're going to finish up with the last curse word of the day. Roland, Grimes.
Clown. You were one of the, I had you for 3 years in the offensive line, and one thing about offensive linemen, you try and get them to make sure that they talk to each other and communicate. It was never a problem with Bubba. He was always talking something going on. But you were that inspirational leader of that group. It's kind of funny, and I might have this wrong, but back then the whole end zone pregame dance or whatever you want to call it, right?
Y'all were dancing back then?
Man,
well, if you ever watch Remember the Titans, remember what they did in the last game?
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
we did that the entire season.
That was it, and that was all. It was Bubba that I think choreographed it, and he led it every time. And and I talked to him one day, and I said, Bubba, what are you trying to, prove by this? And he said, our whole goal was that when we break from that huddle in the end zone, that the other team, of course, they're out there doing their, pregame stuff,
right?
And the whole idea is for them to, if we get them to turn and look, that was the goal of that, and they would get there and go through this. It was a
7-minute routine.
Yeah, and it got better nobody could duplicate it. Not they couldn't duplicate it, but it was that team. That was the team that
that was our identity.
And it was and it was him that kind of led it every You see in the NFL now the guys in the middle, all that kind of stuff. But that's what happened in that little huddle. And it was all about, when they get to a boom, this rhythm, and then they would break and come out. And every time they would break, I know because I got to the point where I just kind of looked, see, did it work? And it worked every damn time. So, that's what I would say about Bubba was probably the inspirational leader of a very talented team. Every team, because people ask me, what's the best championship team that McNamara had? I will tell you, there's only one person that knows, because there was only one person that was here for all of them. But he ain't ever going to say it. Because each one in their own right was very good. You know, Billy's team was, you know, that was the first one. You know, Ty's was the last one. Yours was the middle one. But each team had its own character, its own. But the amazing part is there was a couple stars on the team, but that's not what you heard about. You know, it was more of a team concept, and I think that the leadership by all three of you guys is probably the thing that kept that way. I mean, you know, Billy was no doubt the best athlete on that team, but that's not people. Yeah. You know, they don't. That wasn't his point. His point was, you know, for the whole team to play better. The same way, you know, I won't say that you were the best athlete on that team. I really don't know, because you were a damn lineman that turned your back. So
Lineman can be athletes.
I mean, but yeah, you know, but what I mean is that, but you guys were, you know, you kept the team as a team. It was more about the team than it was about individuals, and I think that's a credit to you all.
And that's why we all love the game.
Yeah.
That's why we all love each other. Hey, folks, we're going to continue with some of this history outside during the game, but for right now, I want to thank my good friend Billy Krug, Tyler Jackson, Coach Roland. We're going to take a break, and we're going to talk to a few more people before we go outside. We're going to continue. Bishop McNamara, Homecoming 2012, Roland GRIMES, Not Just Sports and Entertainment Show. Right back at you.